Okay, I can see that most people are here now and people are slowly joining, so I'll kick it off now. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. My name is John Rowe. I work as an Agile Account Manager at Ingram Micro. And just to quickly give a quick introduction about myself and my background, I've been at Ingram Micro for about 2.5 years now, and I work as a part of the Azure team. Traditionally, I've been working with the Azure MSP and CSP partners to help them build out an Azure practice through Ingram Micro and Microsoft. And from the start of this year, I've also started working with our software vendors that host their software on top of Azure to help them create a channel strategy through Ingram Micro through our ISV program. For the webinar today, I've got Rapid Platform, I've got Mitchell and Rapid Platform on the call with us today. Just to give a quick overview about Rapid Platforms, their solution provides a no-code browser-based development environment to help you build up applications and workflows. And I'll hand it over for Mitchell to give you a better overview and walk you through the solution in more detail.
Thanks, John. And thank you, everybody else, for taking the time to come along and listen to a little bit of Rapid Platform. As John mentioned, I'm Mitchell Hunt. I'm the CEO of Rapid Platform. What I'll do first is give you a bit of an overview of the kind of agenda that we're going to go through as part of the webinar, and then we'll get straight into it. Oops, too far. So today we're going to start off with a bit of an introduction about Rapid Platform, give you a bit of an overview of the tech piece of it, but also the methodology that goes behind why we do the things the way that we do. Once we've finished that, we'll quickly go into the 4 key components to the actual product around data, workflow, analytics, and UX and expandability. And then there'll be some time at the end for everybody to ask all the questions that you've come up with along the way, and I'll answer all of those for you. So let's get going. So Rapid Platform really started the journey probably about 2012, so about 8 years ago, to find a way to help organizations to iterate their ideas quickly and flexibly, with the control that you usually only get with full custom solutions, but with the benefits of software as a service from a maintenance and shared feature and upgrade point of view. Version 1 really focused on a common experience for users that was easy for them to be able to communicate to the development team what it was they needed, their needs, and move really quickly with that. Version 2, the feedback showed us that users wanted more control, and they didn't necessarily want the developers to be the bottleneck. They were happy to take some of that on themselves. So we took that feedback and made the system more user focused for users to do these tasks themselves. Version 3 really iterated on that same idea, giving them more control of what they could do, giving them Gantt charts, tables, pie charts and stuff that they could actually add into the application, as well as unlocking the data within the application by embedding Power BI into our actual application, giving them a much bigger ability to discover their data and get that real data visibility that organizations want for their data. And then version 4, based on feedback again, users said that it's great to have access to your data and your analytics and everything like that. But what about workflow? What do we do in that particular case? So we wrote a BPMN 2.0 engine and interface to really give people the ability to not only to document their processes, but then be able to execute those processes as well. So what are the problems that we're trying to address? So one of the problems is limited control. So people these days within their systems really feel hogtied by what they can do, that they're expected to adjust how they work in their business and their organization to fit the system that they're using rather than the system actually fitting them. We really wanted to switch that round. Is what we're doing, because that was feedback that we got from the market. Secondly, people have kind of set and forget systems. They feel like they can set it up once and then do no maintenance. That's kind of the silver bullet mentality. I buy this product's going to solve all of my organizational problems. But in the end, we all know that silver bullets don't exist. and thinking that the system is going to be the silver bullet is a big reason why a lot of IT projects fail. Thirdly, lack of user buy-in. Organisations do have problems with users thinking it's the new fancy shiny system that's not as good as they did before. But we've seen that user buy-in is a huge thing, that if you've got an organisation that has an Excel spreadsheet or a system they developed themselves and they're involved in developing it, they will cling to that for dear life, and they will do everything in their power to find a way to make it work, no matter how bad the system is. But if you've got a system that people aren't bought into, it can be the perfect solution to all of their problems. They will find a way to white ant that particular solution. This user buy-in and this push for innovation actually has spawned what we would call shadow IT, which is IT that is outside the normal governance framework with the IT structures. People will go and grab Trello, they'll go and grab another system to solve their problems, which from an innovation point of view is fantastic. But from a governance point of view, it is a train wreck. You've got people who are provisioning the same data in different spots for different reasons, for different purposes. There's no overview and kind of governance around that. And then again, coming from this app sprawl and people provisioning stuff in different spaces, there really is a limited visibility and access to real accurate data across organisations. So that if accurate reports are something that everybody wants, which management always wants those accurate reports, it's a very labour-intensive job to go and get those that data from all those different places, stitch it all together, and be able to bring it out to the people who need to see it. So we kind of started at a principles level. So even though we're an IT company, we very much wanted to make sure that we didn't have our product in the middle of what we're trying to achieve here. It's the outcomes that we're trying to get for our customers. So we have 4 main principles that we work on with all of our customers. That is value, trust, engagement, and continuous improvement. So from a value point of view, we aren't trying to deliver a particular scope. We're not trying to actually get them to fit into what we're trying to do. We're really trying to find a way to provide tangible value for our clients. We're willing to negotiate between competing requirements to generate the maximum value for them, rather than just try and tick a box in a scope document. We demonstrate value early with tangible solutions as soon as possible. Trust. So without trust, red tape, back and forths, overtly complicated processes really get in the way of getting that value out the door. We really build trust by being responsive to customers' needs, being transparent about what we're doing, and continuously demonstrating the reliability of our product and the process that we take people through. Engagement is a big piece of the puzzle. This is one that we really want this system to become the organisation system. It's not something that we're doing to them. It's something that they're building themselves within their organisation. And our way is to engage and empower the organisations to continuously improve their system. We know that getting and harnessing real value and insights across the organisation means getting buy-in at all levels. By genuinely engaging people from day one, Rapid Platform becomes a value generator, not just another tool. And then continuous improvement. We don't want to be that set and forget. We don't want to come in and promise people that they can do it once and it'll be fixed forever. COVID-19 has shown us that that isn't the case. If people aren't moving and adjusting, they're going to get caught out by the moving environment, and we need to cater for that and make sure that we're working towards that for our clients. So with our rapid process, we want to focus on some particular things that we're trying to communicate and work with our clients through. So one of those is that with our product, the client is in control. This is their system. They have to buy into it. And that doesn't matter whether they buy into it because we provide them with a template that can get them some real good value up front, and they slightly adjust that, or whether they build it all from scratch themselves. The important thing is that they know that they're in control and they have the ability to have the system do what they need it to do. To do this, we really focus on co-design. This isn't something that we're coming in as the experts and telling them exactly what to do. We're providing advice for them from our expertise, but really making sure that they buy in to the whole process, which gets much better results and really starts the change management process early, instead of having a system that we hand to people and then they have to go through a change management process to get everybody on board. We try and get people on board through the co-design to make sure they're on board from the start, which makes the change management process much smoother, and we've found much more successful. Having a single source of truth within organisations is a very important thing. We're not, even though Rapid can fill that role really, really well, we're not delusional enough to think that we're always going to be the single source of truth for everything. But having disparate sources of truth across the organisation is really harmful for building systems and maintainability and expandability. So we really push for, and Rapid excels in the area of getting those fringe areas, which could be an Excel spreadsheet, could be a little system over here that somebody used, getting those and putting those into a single place. Perfect example is one of our customers had 10 to 15 different places where they stored the locations and details for their centres, because they'd been provisioned for a whole bunch of different systems that need to be created. So we brought all of those into Rapid as a single source of truth for that particular thing, and then those systems grab the information from there. It really provides that stability and the ability for us to move forward from a data point of view within organisations. And then there is the transformation process. So we very much want to prototype quickly, and then do the truly agile thing, which is get the prototype out, get feedback on it, iterate, and continue to go again, do another prototype. And really giving people the ability to go through that process in a structured and automated way, so they're comfortable that they're getting the results that they want, but they're not looking at something that's waterfall, that they do 6 months of work and then realize they were doing the wrong work for 6 months. And then flexibility, or transforming the business their particular way, is also a big important thing that we do within the process, that it isn't us saying that you can only do it this way, Rapid has to do this, Rapid has to do that. It's about giving people the ability to transform in the way and at the speed they want to, so that they can get as much value as they possibly can from the product. So how is Rapid different from things like Salesforce, Dynamics, Zoho, those sorts of applications? We really focused on, as I mentioned earlier, the fact that we're not trying to be another tool for IT professionals. We really want to be a tool for organisational users to drive innovation within the organisation. IT professionals definitely have a role in the process, but they have unfortunately for too long become the project managers and the people who are being whipped for these organisational projects, when they aren't necessarily the people who should be responsible for them. The organisation should be driving them themselves, and the IT professionals should be providing expert opinions and training and empowerment to help them to do that. We don't do per user licensing. So we've found through consulting with different companies prior to Rapid, that per user licensing creates some really strange behaviour, where people will throw good governance out the door for auditability and security and everything like that, because, oh yeah, we're supposed to get 50 licenses, but could we just get 30 licenses and a couple of people will share the licenses? We don't want per user licensing or finances to be something that is getting people to not use the system the right way. And we really want to drive adoption of the system as well. So people are getting more and more value the more and more they use it. And per user licensing doesn't help with that. Data visibility and accessibility for us is key. And that's why we've embedded Power BI licensing included with the application. So there isn't a on top of for Power BI licensing. Power BI licensing is included within the application and embedded within the application so that people get that straight out of the box. We also want to help people get the most out of their Microsoft 365 investment. So we've made deep integrations to Azure AD, SharePoint, Exchange, so that people get an out-of-box experience that is it just works. But we're leveraging the power that Microsoft's already done within Exchange, SharePoint, and Azure AD in particular. And then we also want to be very flexible. We want to make sure that we're catering for a full gamut of solutions, from no code that has been driven from the organizational side to full code solutions that you might have a WordPress site that you want to set up a PHP environment that pushes stuff straight into the API, from a contact form. We don't want to be telling people what they can and can't do. We want to give them the options to be able to build it out to the complexity level that is important to them. So let's give you a couple of examples of some organisations we've worked for. So we had a project that was really around access and governance at Guardian Childcare. They have about 100 childcare centres all over Australia, and they were using for their CRM, essentially Smartsheets. So we came in and Smartsheets was working, but it really didn't give them the visibility or that single source of truth that they were using people to fill a hole that technology should have been filling. There was no real visibility over what was happening. It was people had to be trusted of, oh, no, we've got this under control. Okay, can you show me that you got it under control? Oh, no, we really can't. I'll get back to you next week. We built, I actually did the build on this one, and we built their first prototype in about 5 hours to replace that system, which really provided them with a single source of truth for all the leads that were coming in for their childcare environment. There was some data integrity issues and duplication issues, which we got straight on top of. And then the old solution didn't have any kind of standardized workflow. So we also worked with them to build standardized workflows on how their teams should work. And then enable an integration with pure cloud, so some cloud telephony to really help the family experience. When people get onto a phone call, they really already knew where they were. There wasn't that couple of seconds where they're trying to go through the system and find the right person. Those people came up straight away. The outcomes for Guardian was they have reduced their manpower in that particular department from 14 full-time staff members to 4 at the moment. The overall experience, as I mentioned, for families was much better. And because of the increased visibility across the organisation, they really increased their sales. They could push for centres who needed more sales and pull back on centres that didn't need as many sales. Another example is AFG Group. So AFG Group was actually one of our initial customers. And the big thing that really excites me about them is their users are totally in control. They're one of the examples that shows me that it is possible for users to drive the organisation's tech. Because Scott, who's the director of AFG, is in no way a technical person. So he'll still call technical support to help him pair his Bluetooth headset to his computer. But he's actually driven and done probably 80% of the work on all of their systems, which started out from a simple kind of Excel-based system that they were using. And we brought them across into Rapid and did an initial build for property development. And he expanded that from probably the 40% that we did to the 100% that it is today. It tracks both financial and operation components of the business, and it's got mapped end-to-end process for property development. But the piece on top, the cherry on top with this particular customer is they've now gone on, because they're a kind of diversified group who have kind of businesses in rural and construction and farming and transport. They've actually gone and pretty much built the rural transport and construction ones without much of our intervention at all. Really showing us that giving people the time and empowerment to actually go and build their own systems is really a possibility. That people don't have to be technical; they just need to be given the time and knowledge around what it is they do, and a tool that can make it easy for them, so that they can really get in there and get that stuff done. So that's a bit of a brief overview. What I'm going to do now is I'll jump you into an actual demo of the product. We're doing this demo live because it was important to us to make sure, seeing as what we're talking about is making this easy for users to be able to do it themselves, to actually see within the application what it is like setting up the environment and doing stuff like that. So I'll jump into that now. So as you can see here, we mentioned from the start that Office 365 integration was a big piece of what we do, and Azure AD for security is what we use to secure a Rapid platform as well. So we've created a team in here, which will in Teams, which will provision a security group in Azure AD, and then we can come into Rapid, and this is us essentially creating a site from scratch. So we would come in here, it would ask me which groups I want to allow access to this site. If I had multiple groups in there, I can pick as many groups as I would like. and then I pick a primary group. That primary group is the primary group from security point of view. And then from a document storage point of view, we're saying by default, I'd like all my documents to be stored in this SharePoint folder. This is just our same default, so that people can know that there is a single spot where this is provisioned. But as we build out the site, you can take different pieces, different entities that we call within the system, and you can ask for their documents to be put in different places. We've had some quite complex SharePoint implementations that allows us to really use that functionality. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to jump in and I'm just going to quickly create the CRM bundle. I'm going to do the projects bundle. I'm going to do the reports bundle. So these are kind of pre-built things within the system, and these will be available for kind of our partners to actually provision their own stuff for their clients as well. So if you went in and had something that that really worked well for your customer base, and you wanted to kind of easily be able to provision that, we can facilitate that for you. So now we've come in here and we've provisioned that, and I can come into the system and create a new client as quick as that. So within a couple of minutes, we've got a system that I can provision a client in reasonably easy. As you've seen in the background, we're actually automatically populating this with a whole bunch of data as well, which allows us to show you some more functionality across the organization. So now we've got clients and we've got projects as well. So we come into these projects, and because we've provisioned these two bundles separately, there's no connection between them. There is no connection between a client and a project, but everybody here knows that in reality, clients and projects are synonymous with each other. So what we would do, and this shows the flexibility of Rapid, is we would come in here and be able to launch Designer. So Designer is our kind of admin panel that allows us to go in and add extra things into the backend system. So we're going into the project and we're saying we'd like to add a lookup field to that project, which looks at client. So we can save and add that to the form. And as simple as that, we've now got the ability to link our projects to a particular client. So we can link to that particular client. And from here, we can actually open up that client. So you can go and see all the data about that particular client from here. But as you can see at the top here, from this client record, you can also go and have a look at the projects that are attached to that particular client. So let's just say we actually set 2 projects to Delia. Was it Delia? Yes, it was. As easy as that, we'll have those 2 projects come up in Delia's structure here. Really being able to bring all of the data that we've got and the connections that we've got within the system together in a way that allows people to be able to dig into their data is what Rapid is all about. So let's take files. So we'll look at the SharePoint integration. Because we've just provisioned this, it's asking me to give it a bit more information. So we come in here and we'll say, cool, my projects folders, I'd like them, put them into that Ingram document library as well. We've got clicked on here that I'd always like to create a SharePoint folder when items are created, and I'll click save on that one. So if we jump back into project T, I'll be able to go to files, and it will actually go and provision me a folder in SharePoint. So from here, I can easily jump in and drop in a file, and that file has the ability to display what that file looks like, so I can get a preview in Rapid. But I've also got all of the power of SharePoint sitting in the background. If I wanted to sync this using OneDrive, if I wanted to get a Power App and attach it to this particular document library, if I wanted to put the documents in a different structure, SharePoint is all in the background, making sure that everything that you want to do can be done. But from your user's point of view, all they have to do is know that they can come in here, they can create a folder, and their project files are in against their projects. So a couple of enterprise features that I'll mention are the item level permissions, so allowing the particular items to be secured individually. So by default, we set them to have permissions on a project level or an entity level. And then you can actually come into, let's say project T is a is a sensitive project, you can set the permissions for that particular project. And then on top of that, as you can see in here, we've actually got our activity log of what's happened on this particular item here. But from an auditing point of view, we've actually got a full history of what the items looked like at each point in time. So if I actually come in here, we can see that this is what it looked like 4 minutes ago. This really gives us the ability to go back and roll back items and see what happened and who changed what when. So that's a brief kind of overview of the data side. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of questions that you guys will probably have, but we'll leave those to the end. But what we might do is just take kind of 45 seconds and do a bit of a poll about that, about kind of a data question, and then we'll continue on from there. You should see it up on your screens now, and then we'll jump into workflow from there. So thank you guys for jumping into that poll. Let's continue along with our workflow. So data is just one component to any system. Workflow is another big component. And what we thought is people are visual people. We've found from our experience that people like looking at things from a visual point of view. So coming up with a standard like BPMN 2.0 that we've got here, and being able to write stuff down really gives us a good way to be able to communicate what those particular processes are, and be able to really get on the same page of, okay, so this is what you're talking about when you're talking about a particular process. And as simple as that, we can sit there going, yes, we do task 1, then task 2, and then it could be task 3 or task 4. And what usually happens is we sit here and we have an awesome case where we go through and we'll double click on here and say, this is why we do this. And everybody's really happy with that. And then that ending up in someone's drawer somewhere or in SharePoint somewhere, and it never gets executed. So we thought, well, we've got all the information in there. Why wouldn't we just make it executable? So we actually built an engine to do just that. So we can come in here, and as easy as this, we can come in and say, cool, every time a client is created, we would like this workflow to end, but to start. So we can come in here and say, by default, run to task 4, but if I come in here and if task 2.title is equal to task 2A, then I'd like you to go to task 3 instead. And as simple as that, we have an executable workflow within the engine. We can come in here and I'll create a new client and I'll call it Oliver Hunt because I don't have a very good imagination. So I'll just use my kid's name. And from here, we'll be able to see that workflow has kicked off. So here is that workflow. Task 1 has been created. I can come into task 1. I can complete task 1, which will spawn me to task 2. I'll change task 2 to task 2A, which through that gateway will take me to task 3. And then I can complete task 3. And as easy as that, I've actually got a workflow that can execute within the application to actually drive flow. These tasks are coming up against this particular user, so we'll see that those are about those user, but they are driven by the process engine. And what you guys will probably say, and I've seen so many demos, is, yeah, that's really great, Mitch, but that's a really simple thing. Like, doing simple things isn't where we get most value. The most value we get is when we start doing complicated things, and I totally agree with you. So here's one I prepared earlier. Is the actual process for, let's just say, a project. So we've got some more complexity in here. So there's 3 pieces of complexity that I'll mention in here and then show you them in action. So one of them is these timers. The timers allow the workflow engine to essentially stop. or do things in a certain time. So let's say there's a task that has a two-day time that if it isn't done within 2 days, it needs to be escalated. We can use these timers to actually check that things have happened so that we can escalate and move forward like that. I've left them on the page but off the diagram because it would block us doing the demo, but those ones are there. And then the other two things I'm going to show you is embedded forms. So embedded forms is about giving people the information that they need when they need it. So instead of saying, let's say, check client details, and then you having to go somewhere else to do that, actually giving them the information when they need it to be able to do that. And then there's embedded files. So embedded files is an extension of our integration with SharePoint to actually say, well, doing document management well and being able to use a workflow to actually push documents around and get people to put stuff in the right place, name the right name, is a really big bugbear within organizations. So I'll actually show you how this one works in real life. So this one will be executed anytime a new project is created. So let's come in here and let's create a project called Project 1. Oops, if I could spell. And we'll set the client to be Oliver. Oliver can be the client of this one. So we'll create and open that. So project 1's come through here, and this process run has kicked off. So here's the process run. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take you now to this view here. Is really impressive from a workflow point of view, but we actually want to see what is a client, what is a person who is using the system, what do they actually see? So we will jump in here, and this is our simple task interface. So this is the interface that we want to use so that users are just handed a list of tasks that they need to do. They're given enough information about what they need to do, but they can just get on with their jobs. So a perfect example is Oliver Hunt here doesn't have a mobile number. So we can add the mobile number. We can add an email. And we can complete that task. We've checked the client details. I didn't have to leave this screen to go and do those things, but the system has been updated so that we know that all of the information is in the right place. So if I actually go back here and I look at Oliver Hunt as a user, you can now see that these details have been updated in there. So this client proposal that I've got to send out is a document that's sitting in SharePoint. We want it to be put in a certain place and we want it to be called a certain name. So this particular one, we set it to be the project's name, then scope, then the client's name, .docx. So it has been stored in the in the project's folder in the right place in SharePoint. So nobody had to worry about that. And it's using the latest template, which we set up in the workflow. So people don't have to worry about where do I find the template? What do I call the document? We've got that consistency and the ability for us to work through that consistency within the engine. So we've now got that's creating from a template. We can complete that particular task. And now we have to chase up a client proposal. Again, it's asking me for a project status. So we're going to set that to 1 because the gateway within the process is waiting for that variable to be able to actually make a decision on what is going. So now we've got the file has been sent out. I've sent that project to Oliver. Oliver's come back and he's given me that. And I need to put a copy of that document back into the system. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to drag that into the system. And it's going to upload that document. And it's going to put it in the right spot. So me as a user, all I had to do was drop that, put that file in the right spot. It didn't matter what it was called before. The system will actually call it the right name as dictated by the workflow and put it in the right spot. So again, really making it easy for users to just be able to do their jobs, but giving the organization the power to dictate and to actually say, this is where we should put them and this is the standards that we should follow. So complete that particular one. Now we've got another one that says set up project. So we'll quickly go in here and say, oh, okay, cool, I want to add a couple of tasks to here. So let's just add task 1. Let's add task 2. And it's going to be much more complicated than that, but let's say that's what our setup project was. We can complete that particular item. And then what would have happened if I quickly go back and show you the process, what would have happened is this particular task here would have been held off by this timer. And this timer would have said, cool, I want you to wait till the project end date plus 1 day. And after that, then I want you to give me a project sign-off document. So what we do with the project sign-off document, which is the third piece of the embedded files component, is giving the ability to, within the workflow, to pull back a document which we've already used. So the client sign-off is a page on the bottom of the signed document that we would want to sign off with our clients. So we would want to, again, take this document, send it off to our customer, and then get their response back and store that within the system. So as you can see with the workflow, with these particular pieces of the puzzle, you can really do some really powerful things within organizations, and really, especially around capturing data and document management, that really helps them with this workflow engine. So two other things I wanted to just mention. As you can see here with this email allows the engine to essentially send emails on your behalf, which within processes makes it much easier for us to continue that process without having to think of a different system or have somebody manually send an email. And then the second one is we actually have the ability to trigger power automates within the system, or zaps from Zapier, really giving the workflow engine that flexibility to do what you need it to do, but still capture all of that end-to-end process of where it's going to in one spot. So if you want to know where the new project process is up to, you can quickly and clearly see where it's up to and where we can go from there. So that's a bit of an overview of the workflow engine. So we'll go to the polling question number 2. And we'll have 45 seconds to do that before we quickly jump into the analytics piece. Perfect. So thank you for your answers to those questions as well. Let's quickly jump into the analytics. As we mentioned earlier, there is that Power BI component that we've embedded within the application. So let's just create a new workspace here because we've done this from scratch. And we'll go clients and projects report. So we'll create that new report. And what we'll do is we will upload a new report that I created prior to this, which connects directly to that database and gives people the ability to really look at what's going on within the application from a data point of view. Oh, no. And it all doing live demos. You've got to love it. There we go. So now we've got these reports which are coming up in Power BI that you can see. You've got all of the power of Power BI in here. If I wanted to come in here and just look at project 1, here are the tasks for project 1. Here's the percentage complete and not complete. If I want to see all the tasks for the entire system, if I wanted to look at projects by status, by the ones that we've won, you've really got that power within the report to do whatever it is that you need to do. But we also give you the power within Power BI to not just view what's going on, but to actually edit what's going on as well. So if you want to come in here and add a new report in here, add a new table, add extra things, change that to a bar chart instead of a pie chart, you've got the ability to come into the system and change that as is necessary. We've got different components in here, like this one shows us where all of our customers are by a particular area. But one of the other features I wanted to show you is the ability within the system for people to actually come in and go, well, that's a project report. I'd love it to actually be filtered by the particular project that we're looking at. So we can jump in here. We can actually go to project, and let's say it's project reports. We can add that new project report in there, create a new page, add a layout, And here is my Power BI report in there. I'll configure that to look at that new report that we created. So we've got client base. And as simple as that, I can now have that report filtered by this particular record. So as you can see, this one's filtered down to project 1 by default. So I can easily click between different reports and be able to see what their particular record is showing. And then the second thing that we have within the system is the ability for us. We actually replicate the views that we create here within the database. And that gives you an unprecedented ability within the application to have the data that's displaying on this screen come up on dashboards or Power BI reports. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I want to come in here and create a rule that says only show me stuff that is state is equal to Queensland. So that's all I want. So only Queensland one's coming up there. Do you guys remember when we were on the report before? I went to the clients tab. It showed me all of the different areas. And now you can see that it's only showing Queensland in there. This report is attached to that particular view, which really gives people, in the circumstances where they need it, the ability to have dashboards that reflect what people are looking at within the system. We provide all of this as part of, so this Power BI licensing is included as part of the licensing for the application. So we don't have to, it's not an add-on on top of, it is included in the licensing. So that's a brief overview. Power BI is so big and broad and wide that I could spend an hour just talking about Power BI, but I'll leave it there. So we'll have a third poll coming up, and then I'll get into expandability.
For any of you guys having trouble finding the poll, you should be able to find it on the right-hand side of the screen.
Thanks, John. So thank you for those answers as well. We'll quickly jump into UX and expandability. So user experience and making stuff easy for people to be able to use and do their jobs is really important. But what we've found in the past is if a system is really, really pretty and usable and makes people feel great, but it can't actually let them do their jobs, people very quickly get frustrated with that. So as you can see, we've got two interfaces here. We've got our Explorer interface, which is our quick prototyping. People can get in and do their stuff really, really quickly. And then we have this My Task, which is a simpler interface. It does less things, but it provides people with an easy way to interact with the system. We're spending time to build out our first-party kind of experiences like My Tasks. But the big thing that we wanted to make sure as part of our methodology and everything we were talking about is the fact that we don't want to build people into a corner where they don't have the ability to actually be able to expand in the way that they want to. If they want to build a fully custom application, and they want to use Rapid in the background to store some information, we want to cater for that. If people want to do no code and not have any custom applications and rely on us, we want to cater for that as well. But we also want to make sure that there is governance across everything that we're doing from an IT point of view, so that people have the ability to really own the system, but do it in a safe way that is controlled by the organisation. That's why all of our external applications are controlled through Azure AD. So again, Microsoft 365, keeping all of that stuff in one place and making sure that people don't have to worry about security, worry about how everything's been done. IT can actually take care of that governance piece, and people can just get on with actually moving forward with their experiences. One thing we're working on at the moment is a new interface to, this is speaking out of school a little bit, but by the start of next year, we'll actually have another piece of technology that will allow consultants and users to actually build experiences more like the simple task experience from a wizard kind of interface. They'll be able to actually build those that are more compartmentalized kind of apps to give people that real power between the usability, the flexibility, and the user experience, the user interface that makes them feel comfortable and working from there. So yes, with all of these expandability and making sure that we give people the ability, one of the pieces that the Rapid platform plays in that piece is providing template app environments and providing that backstop for organizations from a training point of view, from a support point of view, to really allow them to do what they need to do, knowing that there's someone there who's got their back, who is going to be able to help them out. But really, we want the innovation coming internally, and then have partners and standing in between the customers and us providing their expert knowledge, but not necessarily having to get down to the nitty gritty of I want someone to come in and I want them to put this field in there, or I want something to go in there. So that's an overview of what we do at Rapid Platform. We've got a little bit of time left. So have we got any questions?
There isn't any questions at this point, but if you guys do have any questions, please put it up. Please feel free to type it on the right-hand side of the screen under Q&A. So, Mitchell, one of the questions is, what if one of our clients uses G Suite? Is there an offering for them as well?
Yeah, that's a great question, John, and we've had this one before because we've gone kind of all in with Microsoft 365. At this stage, we don't have a G Suite offering. If customers are really, really wed to G Suite and what they're doing over there, we wish them all the luck in the world. We would suggest moving to Office 365, migrating to Office 365 would be in their best interest, but we don't at the moment have an offering for G Suite.
And we've got another question as well. The question is, one of our clients has a very specific setup for SharePoint currently. How will Rapid cater for that?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So we've been very particular in how we do our integrations with SharePoint. It's a very flexible implementation that even stuff like the site provisions a folder and people go and use SharePoint like they use SharePoint. They want to archive that folder. They want to move it to someone else. And we get, and usually with system implementations, you would then have links drop off and links disappear and stuff no longer works. They're not connected up anymore. We've been very particular from a overview to make sure that we keep those intrinsic links in place. So if people do go around and move stuff, Rapid is still connected in the way people expect it to. So having custom implementations where people are very particular about where they want to put their stuff, we have the ability to cater for that. We've worked with customers who want to have particular, for security reasons, particular setups, their client files go in a certain way and do everything like that. We are more than happy to cater for that and implement that within the system.
And from a data modeling perspective, how does Rapid handle complex relationships like multi-lookups?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So within the application, we have a concept called universal linking. So at the moment, we're applying for a patent for it to allow essentially you to link anything to anything within the system. This provides that next level of kind of a mix over between tagging stuff where it's really loose links compared to relational databases, which is a very fixed links of direct lookups and everything like that. Universal linking allows us to do stuff like multi-lookups, where you can have a link that might be for a child, it might be parents, and you want to link that to 2 particular people or 3 particular people or 4 particular people. The system actually caters for the fact that those complex data structures exist, and we want to be able to cater for those as well.
Okay, thanks for that. And there is another question, and it says, I saw in the data section what looked like a calculator field. Can you explain what limitations that functionality has?
So, yeah, that's another great question. So we have implemented within the system, everything's based on SQL Azure, and we actually make it available to the people who are implementing it, the ability to do what we call subqueries. So subqueries are a powerful thing within SQL that essentially allows us to do pretty much anything we want from a data point of view. The only limitation is the fact that you can do stuff that is so complex that you will hammer your server too hard and it won't be able to return data, which means you can do something as simple as first name plus last name, and concatenate them together, which is the one that you saw in clients. Or you could do something as complicated as, okay, go and find me all the tasks that are linked to this particular project, and then give me the last end date of the last task in the particular item, which means your end date is now calculated based on the tasks that are attached to that particular record. And anything in between. If we wanted to do a purchase order where it goes and calculates the total of the purchase order by finding all the linked items and calculating it up, we can do all of those calculations within the database, which just makes the flexibility that you don't need to come and make a code change for that. You could actually just make a data change to get all those calculations.
Thanks for that. So I don't see any more questions coming up at this point. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to post it on the Q&A box on the right-hand side. But for the last 3 minutes, if you do want to find out more about Rapid Platforms, because they're not a vendor on top of the cloud marketplace yet, you won't be able to find their information there. But if you reach out to info.rapidplatform.com on the screen that you're seeing on the bottom right-hand side, Mitchell and his team will be able to assist you from there. Then, yeah, if there's no more questions, I think we can wrap it up. And once again, thanks for joining. And any questions, please feel free to reach out to info@rapidplatform.com.au.